were tears of joy outside a Sydney court today where more than 1,300 women won a landmark case against the medical giant Johnson & Johnson. A federal court judge found the company was negligent in selling pelvic mesh products before they'd been tested. The devices have left many women suffering painful and devastating side effects. Alison Branley has the story.
For hundreds of Australian women, this was decision day.
In substance, I have found that the applicants made out their case.
Justice Anna Katzman said Johnson & Johnson and affiliate Ethicon were negligent in the way they tested and marketed 9 types of pelvic mesh.
In essence, the Ethicon devices were oversold. That is to say, they were promoted to doctors as suitable for most patients when they had not been adequately evaluated, when they carried significant risks.
Pelvic mesh was used to treat women who had prolapse or incontinence after childbirth. It worked for some. Others were left with crippling pain as the mesh hardened and created chronic infections.
We're incredibly proud of the brave women who have spoken up, and it's an acknowledgement today that their voices have been heard and that their suffering has been recognised by the courts.
Women affected say it won't make up for years of pain and damage.
They've treated women essentially like guinea pigs, lied about it and done nothing to help. So I really hope that this is a great move forward and families have lost their mums and husbands have lost their wives, but it's a good start.
Everybody made more money out of this. Everybody profited from our pain.
The actual amount to be awarded to the 3 lead women in this case will be decided by the federal court early next year. That will determine how much each of the other women in the class action receive. Some estimates suggest that for some women it could run into the hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Johnson & Johnson says it believes it acted ethically and responsibly. It's considering whether to appeal. Alison Branley, ABC News.
Okay, let's talk further about that landmark ruling. I'm joined here in the studio by Justine Watson, who is the president and co-founder of Mesh Injured Australia, as well as a member of the class action there. Justine, welcome. How do you feel this evening?
Exhausted. It's been a really long day and emotional now. It's kind of building up and I'm sort of, holding back the almighty flood of tears that will definitely, soothe me to sleep tonight.
When the problems first came to light, when women started contacting each other and telling their stories, did you ever envisage it would take this long and this much fighting to get to where we are?
This has been years. It has been so long. We have been campaigning, fighting, talking to ministries, talking to health districts, talking to politicians, talking to health ministers. I'm talked out. And the change, my experience of this has just been a passing episode.
What are some of the horrific stories that you've heard and helped people through?
Oh, there's women in wheelchairs whose children and grandchildren are caring for them. There's women who've lost their careers, their homes, their lives, everything. I've lost a decade of my life and my family to this disaster. It's just ridiculous. It's insane.
Some of the women have said that they feel like they were guinea pigs. Why do you think it wasn't? Why wasn't this mesh tested previously to it being put on the market?
There's a long answer to that. However, this was quick. It was a quick fix. Surgeons stopped being trained in the good old-fashioned way of doing surgery. This came in and it was great and wonderful. Everyone thought it was amazing until they realised that it wasn't. So it wasn't tested, and the TGA, relied on the FDA and Europe for, passing this, and it wasn't longitudinal studies. It wasn't what happens if there's an adverse event. It wasn't what does polypropylene do in the most mobile area of your body. There were none of these questions answered, and yet they went ahead.
And the judge said today there was overwhelming evidence, which again, the question is, why has it taken so long? How do you feel towards a company like Johnson & Johnson, a massive company that does make some drugs that help save people's lives, but also has stopped at the point of, previous to this case, to saying, OK, we put our hands up?
I don't think they would have put their hands up voluntarily. They've been forced to. And I think it's really sad because the dollar comes over human life and families, and so many families in Australia have been devastated by these devices and what they've done to women's bodies.
Have you heard of similar experiences around the world?
Yes, we're all in contact on Facebook, you know, all around the world, Sweden, Ireland, Scotland, England, obviously America, you know, and many, many other countries. New Zealand's got a huge population of women also.
So this case will have implications for them. I know there's 1,300 plus, 1,350 women involved in this action. Is that the tip of the iceberg?
I believe so.
In Australia?
Yeah, well, we haven't had the awareness. There are people out there not linking the issues that they're suffering health-wise to these implants, because sometimes complications don't arise straight away. They arise years later, and they're being fobbed off that it's menopause or it's arthritis or it's, you know, something. Or it's all in your head, as I was fobbed off.
Has the company at any stage along the way offered you personally, or the women that you have represented and helped and dealt with, any words, any personal statements to you? Nothing? Not even in court through lawyers?
No. And the health minister offered an apology and then set up a database to record women being implanted moving forward.
Right. What is